I I got a hypothetical for you. Who
Okay.
do you think hits harder, you or Will Smith?
Yeah. Yeah.
Welcome to the most overrated, underappreciated, most viewed, underviewed podcast of all time. Welcome to the Prince of Fresh Air. I'm of course your host, the beloved, the most charismatic man in entertainment. Beat that, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, Stone Cold Roman Reigns, everybody. Thank you again for tuning to another episode. A lot's been going on. Everybody's been asking me about who's my next guest. Who am I going to interview next? Well, no need to fear because the champ is here now. He's not just an ordinary champion. He's not just making his return to the podcast, but he's making his return to defend the heavyweight strap. Who is my guest today? Well, I got you covered. So this man right here is a living legend, one of the longest reigning champions in Power Slap history. He is 7-0, 3 KOs, undefeated. Even I can't touch him. He's gonna compete on Friday, July 18th in New Orleans against actually UFC 318 Max Holloway versus Dustin Poirier in this retirement fight. So it's going to be a banger in Louisiana. Power Slap 14 live and free on YouTube. Please help me introduce my guest, the return, the man, the myth, the legend, the heavyweight champion of the world, Damien, Dibbell. Dibbell.
How's it going, man? Appreciate
Uh,
you here.
Absolutely. Now, I'll ask you the typical fight questions, but I want to start off interesting. I I got a hypothetical for you. Who
Okay.
do you think hits harder, you or Will Smith?
Easily me. I ain't gonna lie. I ain't gonna lie. I don't think Will Smith wants that smoke.
Well, he did the Chris Rock. I don't know, man. I don't know. Now, all seriousness, let's get to this. It's going to be an incredible week. It's been 7 months since you returned. I've hit you up about it. Actually, when you're going to compete next, and now you finally got a date, you got an opponent. Before we talk about the opponent, let's talk about, the first thing is moving from Rumble to YouTube. That's honestly, I think that's the biggest thing for the sport because so many people use YouTube. What do you think, especially for you being your first time actually competing on YouTube? What do you think about the new transition from Rumble to YouTube?
I'm excited to see how this, helps boost our viewership on our live events and you just overall. Because anytime that we're telling people live and free on Rumble, they're like, okay, what's Rumble? Where do I have to download this app? Like, where? How do I watch this? It's always a thing. Like, bruh, just go download the app, Google all that. But now it's just everyone got YouTube on their phone. Damn near comes standard issue on every iPhone nowadays. So
Yeah,
it's going to expand who's able to watch our show. Everyone's already tuned in, watching something, listening to music. Now you just put this on in the background. Turn your head every time there's a crazy. Every time you hear the crowd go crazy, just turn and look at the TV. Someone's getting knocked out. It's going to be exciting and exhilarating for everybody. So I'm super excited to see the boost in viewership.
I've definitely seen it. The last Power Slap I was actually watching, I know Allen competed in it, and I'm looking at the numbers. It's actually doing a lot better than Rumble. And I think, like you said, YouTube is a household, platform. Everybody uses it, and I think this is what the sports needs because I think Rumble is a great platform. I've watched it, to
Oh
support,
yeah.
but I think more people would tune in because you got YouTube Shorts. You can also cross promote on different platforms. So I think it might. I think it might help, and I think there's no better way to have this moment than Power Side 14, UFC 318, Max Holloway, uh, um, Dustin Poirier. What do you feel about the energy? Because I feel like it's going to be massive. It's going to be a massive weekend.
I'm already getting hella DMs like about people just excited, amped up for this event, coming out to it. The whole week, I feel like it's going to be exciting for a lot of the fighters, a lot of social media events that we're going to. I actually just signed with the Full Scope Management, so I'm gonna have appearances all week. So it's going to be a banger of a week, and I feel like the energy from the crowd is going to be there at NOLA.
Oh yeah, and like I said, I think if I'm not mistaken, you're probably the longest reigning champ who hasn't lost yet. So for you, is this a different type of feel, especially with the big feel of the UFC pay per view now? You're returning since December to compete. Do you think this is a different type of title defense? This not the same ones that you've had. And quick note, because I should have pointed this out. This is actually one of their first live road shows too. So not only are you competing on YouTube for the first time, but you're part of the card that's actually going to be amongst the first to actually travel with the sport. What does that mean to you, not only as the champ, but just as an athlete?
I feel like it means that the production and everyone on the staff recognizes that if you want a solid event and you want an event to go well, you want your headliner to perform, you book me to headline. It's just as simple as that. For me, I'm treating this just like any other event. The place is going to be different. The people going to be different. But for me, it's every fight you have to treat the same, go into the same mindset, the same goal of doing the best you can, and just not letting everything else distract you from your main target, which is that opponent across the table.
Speaking of opponents, before I get to your opponent, I got to point this out because like I said, we talk often, and I watched the last fight in December, and a lot of the commentators, especially Michael Bisping, everybody talks highly about you, right? They always talk about your chin, your power, how much of a staple you are to the heavyweight division, and a lot of people was looking forward to that flash knockout that you usually get. And I think people will a little let down. Do you feel like, in moments like that, that being a knockout artist is kind of, I wouldn't say holding you back because we talked about it before. But do you think that when you don't get that knockout that everybody is anticipating, do you feel like people look at you less than just because?
I don't think it's more or less than. It's more that person, if they're able to survive the full match and go the 5 rounds, Dorian's the only one in Power Slap entirely that has gone the full 5 rounds without falling over, without touching that mat. So I think that speaks more on his chin and his credibility in the sport in the heavyweight division as a good competitor for me. But at the same time, it really does kind of be like, oh, he knocked out all these other dudes. Why can't he do it to Dorian? That's what the rematch everyone wants to see is because that's the one person I just couldn't knock down. And it really does affect your image a little bit, but I feel like for me it's just you can't knock everybody out on every fight. That's just
Right.
unrealistic. And I feel like that I also got to show off that I could have a chin. I could go those championship rounds. I'm not afraid to go the distance in any sort of fight.
Yeah, that's a good point, and I would often say, that I think we're heading in the direction of the sport, power slap, UFC, mostly combat. That when you're known for doing something and you don't deliver that, people like to say, "Oh, you were never that good," and nobody's ever said that about you. But it just seems like everybody, when they see you, they want to see that knockout. Speaking of which, as we talk about your next fight. It's been 7 months. What took? Do you know what took so long? Do you think they was waiting for a big moment like this to have you on? Because you're not just a regular fighter. You're the champ. One of the longest reigning champs in the sport so far. Do you think they was just saving you for a specific date?
I really do think they just saved me for special events. I got to headline Power Slap 10, huge milestone in the sport, the 10th event, and I got to be the headline for that, so that was amazing. Our first traveling show, within the U.S., I'm headlining that as well. So I feel blessed. Just they keep giving me great opportunities to show out, so I'm just trying to capitalize on top of that.
Amen to that. That's what I like to hear. Now, let's get into the fun of it because everybody wants to know what your thoughts are. So, you're competing against West the Boom Mena, who is 4-0, 2 KOs in the main event. And before I ask you about him, let me ask you running back because you brought up Dorian Perez. Everybody thought that was going to be the rematch. Everybody thought, that was going to be the next fight. Were you surprised that they went with him instead of Dorian?
I honestly was, because originally it was supposed to be, I didn't know this until I went to the promos, but originally it was supposed to be Crazy Hawaiian because he dropped down weight classes. So Slap News did a little take on that because he admitted it during one of their live shows. But it was supposed to be him. When that dropped and fell through, I honestly would have expected Dorian to get the call next. But apparently for me, I don't get rematches. Every other division, fucking Crazy Hawaiian, he got a rematch against Dumpling. Brandon Isaiah was about to have 3 fights. They was about to fight each other 3 times in a row.
Right.
Everyone else, John Davis got a rematch against Azael. Every other champion gets rematches except me. I don't know why. I don't know why they do this to me, but it's just what it is. Like, I truly don't understand the mindset behind it.
Uncle Dana strikes again. You know, you know what it is? I think they probably, like I said, I think they're saving you for bigger events and the better events, and so they want you to, Wes is no slouch. Let's make that clear. I'm not making fun of him at all. I'm not saying he's trash. This is a dangerous guy, but I think they want to see you shine in a way where you get that knockout, right? It's like the Alex Pereira, thing where people say, oh, he gets people that the UFC feels he can knock out. And I think for you, it's probably a little bit of that. And I don't know. I haven't heard anything about Dorian since your fight. I don't know if he's competed since. But I'm kind of shocked that they didn't go with him. But it's probably because he was probably out injured, or maybe he can't make the date, or whatever. But enough about Dorian. Let's talk about the real opponent, because, like I said, you're competing against West the Boom Mena. I've watched 1 or 2 of his fights, and like I said, he's no slouch in that department. When you got the name of him to come, that you're going to compete against, what was your immediate thoughts about it?
Honestly, as soon as I heard it was West, I was just like, damn, really? Like, for real? Y'all ain't gonna give him no more fights. Y'all ain't gonna put him against no one tough. Because I mean, yeah, he's 4-0, but he hasn't faced anyone of my caliber or in the top ranks of heavyweight. I mean, at this point, he didn't go through Pono. He didn't even fight Nate. Like, he didn't go through any of those guys. He fought Aaron Turner and then knocked out a brand new competitor. The brand new competitor that had everyone's first fight is a rough fight for them, honestly. Right. So knocking out someone's first fight, can't really gauge if he has power off of that. And then Aaron Turner just had a really bad performance in his fight against, like, nothing against West. Like, yeah, he needs to change his technique last minute. That's a problem. That's behind the scenes stuff. I'm talking about strictly what I saw in his fight against Aaron Turner. Aaron Turner defeated himself. Like, he lost against himself in that fight. So it's hard for me to gauge how good he is based off of those previous matches. So I'm putting him at the top level. He is my level competition, and I'm not looking past anybody at all. He is getting 110% effort from me. I just want him to know that. There's going to be no holding back first round. Usually I go light a little bit first round. Nah, 110% every single match. If he wants this belt, he's going to have to earn it.
Yeah, I love that you said you ended it that way, because I think, I consume a lot of power slapping UFC, and it has similarities. I know people like to, trash on power slapping and stuff, and we've talked about that. We don't have to get into that. Okay. But I do think, like you said, y'all are true athletes, true competitors. And I think with him, and there's kind of similarities between power slapping and UFC, obviously, because they're under the same umbrella. But I think that, with him, 4-0, shines. You're going against the champ, who's also pretty much undefeated. So for the UFC, they're looking at it as like, well, Dorian, he put up a good fight, but this guy, he might be the one that gives, you a chance, give you a hard time. Let's see what he can do. Do you think that, there's been a change over the last couple of years, from AJ, and a lot of the other popular guys, some of you guys are still mainstays, you, Wolverine, but it seems to be like a changing of the guard. A lot of the, OGs are starting to become, I don't want to be disrespectful and say in the background, but it seems like they're trying to move it along that they established. Do you feel like, they just want to give you tests, or do you think that they're just trying to get new blood at the top of the division?
I wouldn't be surprised if they're just trying to get new blood in our division, because My division, every other division has had a changing of the guard at least a couple times, except light heavyweight as well. But heavyweight, ever since Power Slap 2, it's been me. So I feel like they've just been kind of bringing in new guys for me to compete against and then seeing who could be good competition. But at this point, I definitely understand that they're trying to get new talent into the top ranks.
Yeah. So let's talk about this. You know, fight week is coming up a week. By the time this comes out, it'll be fight week. But you know, what is the schedule looking like? Like when you fly out, any big things you got prepared outside of training for the big fight?
Right now, I'm actually just going to drive up there. I live in Florida. It's like a 9-hour drive, so we're just going to drive. For me, that ain't nothing. I drive around for fun, so I'm just going to take the car. I'm going to speed up there, make it 8. But I'm going to be out there just doing a couple food challenges, hanging out. I might organize a couple of things to meet some fans out there if there are any, and just kind of just, do social media, build myself up on that regard. Because out of everything in my fight game, my social media is completely lacking. I'll admit it. I don't post as much. I don't be doing as much as some of the other champs do. For me personally, I just love the game. I love to fight. That's why I do it. I just love to fight. The fame and everything else, that's secondary for me. So I want to start focusing more on that now that I'm headlining this, massive card.
Yeah, since you're doing food competitions, are you going against Joey Chestnut?
That'd be awesome if I could get him out there, but probably just me and a couple of the super heavyweights. I want to try to get some things going with some of the other Power Slap guys as well.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be cool to see, the heavyweight champ, shove down a bunch of glizzies. I'm kidding.
Whoa. Talking about glizzy. Ain't no one mentioned glizzies out here, brother. This is New Orleans, not New York.
Come on, I know Florida get down too. Come on, man.
Hey, bro, we got gator nuts. We don't got glizzies, all right?
Wait, actually, speaking of, what do y'all eat down there? Because I know a lot of people talk about bison. I don't know if alligator meat is a thing. Like, what type of meat?
That's a thing. Gator nuggets gator sausage is lit. If you never tried gator sausage, highly recommended.
I don't know, man. I've never been to Florida. Well, I've been to Florida as a kid. I never seen the alligator in person, like up close. I ain't trying to taste nothing. Nope.
I'll post a video on my story after this. I saw a gator walking in a neighborhood one time. Like just random gated community and a little baby gator just walking down the sidewalk. Not following the pedestrian rules of the road, walking down the sidewalk, behaving itself. It was bothering nobody.
Florida's a different beast, man. You can have that. I'm sitting up here. Screw that. Actually, let's have a little fun. Let me ask you a fun question. The hype is down a little bit, but there's been a whole. How many people could take on a gorilla? How many champions in Damien Dibbell could take on a gorilla?
That's a hard question. Cause it like just me. 1v1 a gorilla? Nah. But 2v1? Maybe. 3v1 we're talking. Also, at minimum 5. I think 5 of me well prepared. If you give me a year to train and 5 of me, I think I could take a gorilla.
Interesting. Let me give you a perspective. John Jones, the greatest MMA fighter of all time, has said he thinks about, I think he said about 20 to 25. Do you think it takes less of you than him?
I think that dude is underestimating himself. I think he's undercutting himself. I don't know what you is. A kick to the balls is a kick to the balls. Like, as long as it's a gorilla, a male gorilla, we chilling. I got it.
So we chilling.
The first of me, dead off rip. I already know that. But the second of me, he getting that nut kick in. And the third one going for the chokehold. Easy. The other 2 are just in case.
Yeah, you're right. For me, I always tell people it only takes one of me because he ain't catching me. So
he said, I'm gone.
Call me Usain Bolt.
He said, I'm just disappearing.
I do
No,
magic. I know how to disappear. Let me tell you that. But let me ask you real quick. A little side note before we get right back on track. Because I don't want to keep you, too long. But I know you don't watch UFC often. But like, what do you make of the whole? And I think this is kind of like I said, it parallels to the UFC your division because it's heavyweight. What do you? I don't know if you know about the whole Tom Aspinall, John Jones situation. I've came out and defended him in the regard of I think, oftentimes as athletes, as champions, you're looking for the bigger fights, the bigger money, bigger opportunities. And for someone like him, you know, you want to be able to, if you're going to take a risk like that, especially at his stage of his career, it got to be worth it. What do you think about that whole situation? And maybe just as you as a champion, do you ever feel like, why would I take a step down in competition when I'm trying to level up and continue to grow, opposed to, there's just a new hype train in your division that everybody wants you to fight. But there's somebody else that you see is like, that's a bigger fight. That means more on my record. How do you feel about that whole situation?
I feel like just speaking from my own perspective, at that point in your career, like it's more about the legacy. Like you've already done what you were trying to do. You've proved who you are. I can understand either going for that legacy or that bigger fight. Like if you have an opponent that you feel like is going to put your name really up there in history and it's going to provide you more money and more opportunities later on in life, but you're going to have to skip over one or two hype trains that are coming in the division.
Yeah.
How many hype trains has he had to defeat already? He's past the hype train part of his career. Like he's there. He's that guy in the UFC. So I could understand where he's coming from, honestly.
Yeah. We're in the same wavelength. But anyway, enough about John Jones. Let's talk about you. Like I said, you're getting ready to defend your belt once again because nobody has been able to solve your puzzle. Is there anything that Wes, maybe some of the footage or some of the fights that you've seen him in, is this something that maybe he brings that someone like a Dorian or one of the other people you've already defeated? Is there something different he brings to the table? Or is this just one of those tests where it's like, I'm gonna show him who I am, and he's gonna have to deal with it?
I feel like it's the latter. I feel like it's going to be. I've had enough of the top end of our competition now. In regards to Nate, the big dude, super bulky. Everyone thought he was going to have the chin and the power to take me. You saw how that ended. Ryan Phillips, shorter striker, hits the same way that West does right now. I've dealt with that before. We saw how that ended. Dorian, honestly, in my opinion, has the best, if not one of the best chins in the league, period. So I don't think that West is going to be on that same level. And he's the only person that I was not able to knock down. So maybe West will prove himself, but I've seen his footage of him getting knocked out by James, and I know it was a club or a step. I don't remember exactly what penalty it was. But at the end of the day, he still got knocked out. And I'm sorry, but Dorian's never been knocked out in this sport. I've never been knocked out in this sport. Like that's the level that we're at right now, where if you've fallen before, you get judged for that no matter what the circumstance about it was. Like this is the heavyweight division, especially. It's hard to recover from that when you're facing top guys like me, because every single competitor has power to knock you out. And if you're falling over at that early stage, it's hard to really come back from that. And I know that's got to be in the back of his mind going against someone like me that has all these knockouts on my record. I've dropped everybody except goddamn Dorian. Still mad about that. I want to rematch him so much just because every time I say that, I have to say except Dorian. It pisses me off.
Yeah, I definitely see that. Like I said, I think you got this in the bag, but let me not be too biased because people won't watch this. But I think depending on the result, I think he might be next up. Now they might be wanting him to fight somebody else first before they give him the opportunity. I really just feel like they should just do the rematch just because I think it is the biggest fight in heavyweight right now. But I think Wes is a solid opponent, and I think that I'm looking forward to it to see obviously we all know what you bring, but just to see, is there somebody outside of Dorian that can stand up to you? So for you, like when you look at this contest, do you think, let's play it by round, see how we feel, or do you think this is going to be an early day in the office?
Oh, I'm trying to make it an early day for everybody. I'm trying to get my whole, not just me, I want my whole team to run it. I want everybody that is in my corner to get that early knockout. I'm trying to go home by 9 o'clock, hit up the pub afterwards, have a great time. I'm not, with Wes especially, he's been talking about his power, how he's been working on his power. He can work on his power all he wants. I want him asleep, nice and cozied up on that stage, because he ain't going to use it when he was asleep. That's a fact.
You speaking my language, man.
Hey, man, I may be 23, but I like to go to bed early too now, man. It's hot. I've been working hard.
Bro, I stay up to 4 in the morning. I don't know what you talking about. No, hey, how do you think these free calls had? No, let me stop. Let me stop. Are you going to be attending UFC 318, or are you just going to do your event?
I was going to ask them if I could get some ticket. If I have to pay for the tickets, absolutely not. There's no way I'm paying for them tickets. But if they'll
That's on the prices.
Absolutely, I'll be there for show. But if they won't hook a brother up.
Yeah. Do you have actually I always wanted to ask you, I don't think I've ever asked you this, because you sometimes wear glasses, and when you compete you don't have them on. Is there, maybe like a pre-fight ritual that you have that people, you don't have to share everything, but like, is there something you do before every match that, that means something to you, in order to like calm the nerves, or just get in that moment of, I'm about to go out there and dominate?
Two things. First thing, I got LASIK surgery. I'm done with glasses. Actually, it was PRK. It's the more advanced version of LASIK, but just means I could compete and I don't need glasses ever again. So, lovely. And second thing is, the only thing that I really keep the same is I have the same mouth guard that I started with. I just clean it before, after every event, before the next event. I just use the same mouthpiece. I wear the same pair of shoes. Because listen, man, no matter how much money you make, being humble and keeping your stuff nice and clean, that's the biggest thing to me. I like to make my stuff last. So
Yeah.
I try to not have a pre-fight ritual, because I know for a lot of people, if that gets messed up in any way, that could get in your head and that could get you, thinking too much. Oh, I didn't get to do this for my pre-fight. Like, I didn't prepare this way. So I really, other than, having my usual outfit, my usual mouth guard and usual stuff, I really try to do as little of the same thing as possible. Like, I'll warm up, just how I warm up usually, but I try to do away with any pre-fight rituals, because that's just asking for you to get in your own head at one point in your career. It may not be this fight. It may not be next fight. Shit, it might not come back to bite you till 10 fights from now. But at some point, it's going to get messed up and you're going to be in your head and it's going to ruin your fight chances. And I know what I could do on that stage and I know what I'm capable of. And I just sit back, listen to music, and remind myself that, it's just another day in paradise.
Yeah. Let me ask you this, as we get, like I said, I want to, take up too much of your time. I always appreciate it. How do you stay humble? Because a lot of people don't know, like you said, and are shocked that you're 23. Like, a lot of people might assume you're older. For you, being a multi champion, where you defending your belt multiple times, how do you stay grounded? Because at 23, a lot of, John Jones, unfortunately, a lot of people get caught up in the moment, and they lose sight of the end goal. For you, how do you stay centered and grounded and being a champion?
I feel like it's kind of a two-part thing. One, I don't make nearly enough money to be hockey like that. That's just, I'm doing well for a 23-year-old. I'm doing pretty all right for a 23-year-old. I compare where I am to where I want to be, and it's that kind of inspiration. My sponsor, actually, Motivate Change, has that same mindset. Was, you got to not just focus on the now, but focus on the future. And if you're too caught up in the now, it's easy to lose yourself and not consider what is impacting your future. So
Right.
it is easy to really lose focus if you're not, locked in on what you want, what you are trying to achieve in life.
Yeah. So, as you get closer to this fight and everything, what is your vision to not only leading up to it, but even after? Like, because I often feel like you should compete more, and we've talked about this on the show before, but I think that people want to see you a lot, and we don't get enough, and I think that's a good thing because I think if people if you give someone a little too much ice cream, they don't crave it as much.
Yeah.
So for you, like, do you like the fact that you get, it's been 7 months, you're finally coming back, and I'm sure you may not want to take that much of a break, but do you think that having maybe 1 or 2 fights a year is perfect, or would you want to be a little more active going forward?
I would love to be more active because there's a couple things that plays into that. One, the money, of course.
Yeah,
Don't get paid nearly as much if you only fight once or twice a year compared to fighting 3 or 4 times a year and winning all those fights. The chances of bonuses at the end of the day, it's a pretty nice money boost for every year. But also, I like fighting. I've always loved fighting. I got into this because I like hitting people, not so much getting hit, but that's part of the job. That's part of what you sign up for. But I like the violence aspect of this sport. I like competing. I kind of I would be more okay having only 1 or 2 fights a year, to put it in simple terms, if I was allowed to fight other places. If I was allowed
right.
to do boxing matches, MMA matches, kickboxing, you'll see as soon as I either lose or retire, I will be getting an immediate fight in one of those sports following that. I've been saying it all the time. The only thing holding me back right now from fighting outside of Power Slap is the fact that I'm a champion in Power Slap. I'm burdened by success because I can't fight anywhere else. I can't use this fame until I'm done with the sport. But at the rate this is looking, I don't know when I'm going to be able to do that if I don't just retire.
Yeah. I mean, you're 20, you're still relatively young, and so, like, it's not like you're 35 pressing for time, you know what I'm saying? So you got plenty of time, and being in the UFC umbrella, I can often see them, if you ever decide to transition, they just throw you right back over to, the UFC, and, maybe get you a fight with Tom Aspinall.
I don't know that. Put me on the TV show. I'll be a series member. I'll happily do that. I've been working my ass off getting ready, just getting in better shape, and especially since I've had this original opportunity, I've put on 30 pounds of muscle since then. I was small when I started Power Slap, and now I'm actually cutting for my fights now, walking around 280, 290, and I feel like I've been just progressing and doing much better.
Oh, so let me ask you real quick. How is cut? Because I often, we talk about cutting weight in combat sports, but you're the only person I can actually ask because you're a champion and an athlete. How is weight cutting for you, especially being a heavyweight? Like, is it taxing on the body? How far do you have to start doing it? Like, you don't have to give all of it, but what is that process like for you?
I'll just explain from the beginning. After my win in December, I started bulking up because I was still in the heavier end, like 260s, sometimes peaking at 270, but never really going past that. And then after that fight, started eating a little more steak, started going out, doing more, but really been focusing on putting on more muscle since then. I got up to 280, like peaked at 280, 280, like 285. And once ever I held there for, I think, March. I think I got there around March. I got up there, stopped. They started calling me, talking about this next fight. Might be May, might be April. We don't know what's going to happen with you. So I was like, all right, shit, time to start working. Started dropping my weight. And then I think May is when they officially let me know what was going on, and I was hanging out around 280 still. I was cutting, but I wasn't really. I just really stopped bulking. I wasn't really cutting yet. I just stopped, trying to put on extra weight, and then since then I've just been cutting down. taking my time, not making it taxing on my body or anything. For me, it's been a real smooth transition from, 280s back down to 265. And now I'm walking around 263.
Oh, so you're done.
Yeah,
You're
I'm
chilling.
there. Like, the only reason I cut the extra pounds before I left is because I want to eat. I told you, I'm going to some food competitions when I get down there. Otherwise, I'd probably walk in weigh in day around that 265 mark.
You know what? You make a good point, and that's when you mentioned the crazy Hawaiian coming down to heavyweight. I just don't buy it. That dude is freaking big. How's he gonna make that limit?
Bro, he announced it during his Slap News interview. It was, God, I forget the name of the surgery, but I think it was like gastro bypass or something like that.
Oh,
I think he had the surgery to make his stomach smaller. That ain't none of my business. I'm pretty sure that's what he said, but I'd go watch his interview on Slap News about it. Really insightful interview on his thought process and everything he had going on behind the scenes. But, he had that. He's walking around at 240 now, even thinking about going down to light heavyweight. That's where I started being like, nah, bro, I know the weight loss is addicting, but that's unhealthy if you want to do this sport.
yeah.
Not that much weight. We saw what happened to James Seekman. Like, it's not going to be good if you cut all that weight and then jump into a fight against someone like me. Like, that fight happened in New Orleans, me against him. I don't think he realized how much that weight cut was going to affect him going to that fight. So it's honestly kind of for his benefit that he has more time to, get used to his weight, get more comfortable at the heavyweight class.
Yeah, that would be interesting. That would be a fight I would see. I just, he might be pulling that Ice Spice and Ozempic now. But that would be interesting. That'd be crazy. But as we wrap this up, let me ask you one more question. And this is a question someone asked me this, and I want to ask you because oftentimes in pursuing a career in sports, entertainment, it's a lifestyle a lot of people would love to have. And being a champion, you can relate. So let me ask you this. If Dana or whoever said, "Hey, Damien, I give you $250 million right now, but you can't be a champion no more. You can't do power slap no more. You just got to take this money and go. That's it." Or you can say no and continue what you're doing. If you had to choose, which one would you choose?
Just power slap? Like, I could do other stuff?
Nothing related to combat sports.
Nothing.
Nope. You gotta give it all up for that 250.
Honestly, I'd love to say that I wouldn't take it, but I'd probably take 2 mil. You put 2 mil in my face, I'd probably give it up. I'll tell you right now, I never envisioned myself being a pro fighter. This was never a goal that I honest to God just liked fighting people. I signed up to be in a YouTube video, slap fighting in a warehouse in middle bumfuck nowhere, just having fun, meeting new people, getting to explore the country. And it's just taking me crazy places. And, as much as I love combat sports and all that, $250 million. Do you know what you could buy with $250 million? Bro, do you know what I could do with $250 million?
Yeah.
Like, buy you happiness, but it could get you damn close. That's a fact. $250 million. You really gonna ask a brother if $250 million enough to give up combat, bro? I do a lot for $250 million. Give up this? I thought you were gonna ask me, like, what's it like? Would you do it again? Is it worth it for a new person to join combat sports? And I was gonna be like, nah, it kind of sucks, man. The hard work, constant stress, people chirping at you all the time. It really sucks for a lot of the time. That good week of being in the fights and that little minute you on stage is awesome, but you don't see the hours of training. That's another thing that people don't see about this sport is like a lot of the guys in the top end of the sport are still training like every other athlete does. I'm in the gym. If I'm not in the gym, I'm working out at home. I'm thinking about working out. Every meal, I'm looking at it being like, what's my calorie intake? What's my protein intake? What how many carbs am I allowed to eat for the day? Oh, this is if I eat a little piece of chocolate cake on Monday, I'm working that off for Tuesday, Wednesday, maybe even Thursday. Like
Right.
that's the reality of being in this sport. Like, yeah, you get a lot of money for that amount of time that you're competing, but that also pays for the hours and hours that you've put into bettering yourself, improving your ability to compete, just getting to better health. So
Yeah.
that aspect is it's worth it if you just want to better yourself and if competing is what you love to do. I love to compete. I personally would probably do it all over again. But for just a random person on the street, I really wouldn't suggest it. It's a hard life to live.
Yeah. And you know what's funny? I was actually on the Power Slide website, doing my research for, the next event, Power Slide 14. And apparently, I don't know if you noticed, people can actually submit to be an athlete on a in a show. So I thought about it. I said, I know I can sweet talk my way into some money, but if I gotta face you, Wolverine, I'm just like, I'm a pretty boy. I can't take that fist. So
Yeah,
it's like, but like all seriousness, no. And that's why I enjoy having you on and other athletes, because I often feel like people look down on you guys because they probably don't understand the sport and never really watched it. They probably just see little clips on
yeah,
Instagram or they tell them, but they never actually gave it a chance. And I think that's why I enjoy it, because and I think YouTube is going to help, because now that it's getting exposed to so many more people, people will actually have a chance to watch all the full fights, opposed to just a quick, knockout or something like that. So I think, especially now with you competing against, with Max Holloway and Dustin Poirier for UFC 318, I think it's putting an even bigger spotlight. And if everybody delivers on the card, I think it'll open doors like nothing else. And I think
oh, yeah.
that's what my prediction is. Now, as we wrap this up, like I said, I've been saying this for the last 20 minutes. Let's actually wrap this up, because I know you're trying to get up out of here. You got travel. You got 9 hours to go. What is your final? I don't want to be the stereotypical journalist, but I do want to ask, what is your final prediction? What is your final thoughts on your opponent? And what can we expect from you on Friday, July 18th?
Prediction wise, it's going to be a knockout. Someone's getting knocked out during my fight. There's going to be a lot of knockouts, period, because you got a lot of heavyweight competitors going at it during my event. But it's going to be an electric night. Somebody's getting knocked out. And honestly, for my competitor, it's just we're going to see what you have. Like, bring your A game, bring your best. I'll bring my best, and we're going to leave it all on that stage. And that's all I can say about it.
That's it. And you know what? Also, too, congrats on the sponsors. I know that's some, being a champ, that should just be coming in. And I think you've been doing a better job. Like you talked about social media. I think being in combat sports, you have to kind of utilize it, especially now that the sport is growing. The possibilities are endless. I'm not even a champion, and I got people hitting me up about Bitcoin scams. So your time is coming. Your time is coming.
Yeah, it's a lot of hard work, and they definitely don't help you a lot in that aspect. That's why I'm glad to be a part of the full scope management team. They've already been helping me set up appearances and, talking and mitigating these contracts. Because, on top of working my day job, working out for this, I'm moving to New York soon. Like, there's so much going on in my life that it's hard to also be posting every day, talking to sponsors, looking over contracts. Like, it's very hectic for two people to do. My wife helps me with a lot of it, but
Uh,
even only she could do so much by herself.
I'm learning so much. Moving to New York, married man. Oh my! All right, you know what? Let's pause. Let's keep
He
it.
said, "No,
You know
that's for the next."
what See, this is why they hired me for for nothing. But all seriousness, I know you're gonna go out there and put on the show. It's going to be an amazing event. Power Side 14 on YouTube, July 18th. You versus Wes Mena. I think it's going to be a great fight. It's going to be a great opportunity, not only for you to grow your brand, but also just put another belt in your house. Be one of the most respected champions, not only just heavyweight, but just champions in Power Slap. Any final words? I'm gonna leave it to the champ to send us off. Any final words for people who support you, or maybe just tuning into Power Slap for the first time? Any final words for anybody who's listening?
If you want to follow the full journey, I'm gonna be posting more on Instagram, YouTube, trying to post more on TikTok if the app even still exists when you see this. Who knows at this point? The government's crazy. Shit's
Right.
But just if you want to support me, watch the full journey, go over to my YouTube, Instagram, the Bell SF, pretty much everywhere, and make sure you're tuning in. I promise you, once you really study this sport, it's more than just two dudes getting CTE on the stage. Like, the CTE, that's for later on. We'll talk about that in 30 years. You asked me about that, but we're just trying to do what we can in the sport. And again, if you're gonna bother me about some goofy questions about head trauma, I didn't create the sport. I'm just good at it. Talk to Frank.
Right. Well, that is the champion. They often say, in order to beat a man, you have to beat the man. Nobody's ever beat this man. But you know what, Wes? The Boom Men is going to give it a try. Give it take a second. Whether you listen to this podcast, eating the cheeseburger, doing whatever you're doing, make sure July 18th you go support Damien, the Bell, and as he takes on Wes the Boom Mena, as he puts up his championship belt once again, and see if someone could take it from his hands. I'm the most charismatic man. That is the heavyweight champ. Put some respect on his name. If you got something to say about that, we'll both slap you. We'll see you in the next episode.